You're listening to Guitar Talk with Dave and Jon.
Hey everybody, welcome to the latest and greatest edition of Guitar Talk. You are listening to the voice of John Bingham.
And I am Dave Levine. Autobots get together. And
DL, did you see what happened this week?
with,
My car.
oh yes, you got rear-ended
Oh,
at
dude.
a,
Usually I like to get rear-ended at rest stops. This time it happened in the middle of a street.
right.
Hello. No.
Exactly.
So I was on Vista Del Mar, also known as Vista Del Palmar.
Where is Vista? Oh, up in, don't tell
Nope.
me.
Not up in.
It's down? I'm thinking
Yeah.
of what road? I'm thinking of the road that's off of Wilshire that takes you into Brentwood.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I usually take 7th when I do that, but no, this is down. It's the street that follows the water down to El Segundo.
Yes.
You go,
Okay.
yeah. So you're just following the water down there. So just north of Imperial Highway, I was stopped at a traffic light, and some girl did not see the gentleman who was behind me also stopped at the light, and she smashed into him at like 45 miles an hour or whatever it was, and threw his car into my car, and it hit us both hard enough to where even my car went into the car in front of me. And I'm not really a tailgater at stoplights, so it probably threw my car on another 12 or 15 feet.
Right.
So it was gnarly. Her car and his car were both completely totaled. The back end of mine is just destroyed.
Yeah.
But they said no frame damage, all body stuff, so it kind of missed the important stuff. So they're gonna fix it. She's gonna pay for it, and my neck feels better. It was sore for a few days. I wasn't sure if it was gonna be bad news, but we're good.
I thought you'd be showing up like Jackie Coogan in the courtroom scene on the Brady Bunch, where I have to drop a briefcase to make your head turn suddenly when you're wearing the neck.
I'm gonna show up like Jackie Gleason. I don't even know what that means.
Jackie Coogan played Uncle Fester on the Addams Family, but he was the one who faked his neck injury on the Brady Bunch.
Oh, okay, got it. Well, at least it's not Steve Coogan, because I don't like Steve Coogan.
Who's that?
He's an actor. He's an English actor, and he's in a handful.
Oh, what
of
about Keith
movies.
Coogan?
Just not a fan.
Is it Keith Coogan?
I don't
That
know
was
who
in Adventures in Babysitting? Oh, he was
I know.
born in 1970.
You all want to see that? Okay, so
I'll post a
1970, but
picture
that
of him.
movie, I'm guessing that movie was 85, maybe 84.
Let me see.
I might
Adventures
be
in
wrong.
Babysitting?
Yeah.
It was 87.
Oh, wow, I was really early.
This kid
So-
was also on the show Silver Spoons.
So he was 17, and he was getting babysat by Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, he always looks like a little kid.
You know what he was thinking of the whole time.
He was on an episode of Knight Rider.
He wants to be on an episode of Naughty Babysitters 26.
It's also on Fantasy Island.
Mm.
But we ain't ate is enough. This kid had a good career when he was young.
Mm. I wonder if he...
He was also in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Oh, that's a great one. Corey Feldman, what's his name? Jeffrey, to Jeffrey Jones?
The pedophile.
I didn't know Jeffrey Jones was a pedophile.
Yeah, I believe he got arrested for it. Let's take a look.
Ooh.
Jones, pedophile, sentenced over pedophile, sex acts with a minor. I guess he had a 14-year-old boy pose explicitly for him.
Okay.
He was also in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I love Jeffrey Jones.
Right.
Beetlejuice.
Up to the time that he decides to be a pederast, right?
Exactly.
He was also in Howard the Duck.
Yes, he was. He's definitely in Who's Harry Crumb.
He's in Who's Harry Crumb with Annie Potts.
Yeah. He plays Elliot Dreesen.
That's right.
Oh, you must work for Elliot Dreesen. I'd love to meet him. He's your boss. Oh, that Elliot Dreesen.
I have a black belt in
Taekwondo?
judo. Something.
Oh,
And the boots to match.
yeah.
So stupid.
Oh, the movie's unbelievable.
I haven't seen it in years. That's one that I got to put on my list.
I'll tell you
Anyways,
something you guys haven't been able to figure out. You find out whoever used this crazy typewriter, and you've got your man.
right,
Right, it's all cut and pasted.
right, exactly.
Oh, genius.
Speaking
So,
of things that are apparently impossible to figure out for some of us, tell me a little bit about the talk box.
So, a student of mine, who's a friend of mine as well, but we were discussing working on a song, and he was thinking about, he wanted to do a song, possibly by Joe Walsh, and he said, is there other talk box songs I could do? I said, I don't know. I go, Sweet Emotion. I started naming all the talk box songs, and then he said to me, hey, I hear that they can be dangerous, and you have to be careful it doesn't blow up your amp. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, the way it works, it plugs in, the speaker out plugs into it, and it takes the load from the head, and then you feed it into a speaker cabinet. And I'm looking at him like he's speaking to me in Japanese. I'm like, it's a pedal. He's like, no. Well, turns out we both then went into this deep dive into how the TalkBox works on YouTube. And I was shocked to find out that the sound is coming from the microphone, picking up the sound coming out of the TalkBox, and your mouth being the shaper of that noise. Insane. I've never knew anything about that.
It's yeah, it's an interesting thing. I was dumb enough when I was a teenager to buy one because it was like, I gotta buy whatever stupid thing I feel like getting this weekend. So yeah, I had one sitting in my garage. I had a PV Trans Tube Supreme at that point in time.
Sure.
On top of a TubeWorks 412 cabinet. So I
all
ran
the top end gear for that day.
Exactly. And I also had a small PV powered mixer and a pair of monitors, or a pair of mains, I should say. And so yeah, I'm sitting in the garage going You don't even need a talk box. You just do that. That's what it sounds like.
That's all it is. It's ridiculous. You sit there. Johnny's got a 14-inch cock. Hey, union's been on strike.
It's great. I tell you, my kids right now are trying, speaking of Johnny's got a 14-inch cock, my kids are trying to, they're trying to rewrite the words to Another One Bites the Dust. They're trying to rewrite it into Another One Bites the Crust. They want to do a song about eating pies, a la Weird Al.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if I told you. I think I have told you. We talked about it many times. They are obsessed with Fat from Weird Al.
Oh, who shouldn't be? It's the greatest video /
it's the best
joke song.
You ain't fat. You ain't nothing.
Get off me, man. Oh, it's brilliant.
My 5-year-old now is doing all that in between it. Every time he sings, measures on the Richter scale.
You want a piece of pizza? I think I got a slice on me somewhere. Oh, it's great.
Absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah, Weird Al was fantastic.
So anyway, where do we go with this talk box thing?
Well, I'm just saying, I just thought it was crazy. So what happens is you have this box that has a speaker in it. And the speaker also is a driver, so it takes the load from your amp. So when
it doesn't have a cone or anything. It literally is just the speaker driver, as far as I know.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then you have, and it makes this sound, and you put this tube into it, and the speaker sound comes up through this tube. And so, like, if I held it up to the mic, you would hear my guitar sound through the talk box. But what you do is you put it in your mouth and you start mouthing, and the sound changes and the microphone picks it up, but it doesn't come out of your amp.
Right.
It's coming out of the mic. I just thought it was nuts.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is it always recommended that you just use the tubing from like a siphon that you clean your fish tank with?
That's exactly it. It must be a used one.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, the
got
other thing is,
you got
a
this
banshee,
nasty surgical tubing that's just
Rock,
constantly in your mouth going blah, blah, blah.
right? And Rocktron made one called
The Banshee.
the Banshee, and the Banshee does not go into the amp the same way. The Banshee is just used as a pedal.
It is.
It's
Okay.
just as but the same thing happens when you engage it. It shuts off the signal to your amp, and it comes up the tube.
Oh, interesting. So you're running it in front of your amp.
In that exactly, on the Banshee.
Maybe that's a better solution. Maybe it's more like a vocorder or something where it's I don't know.
I have to look it up. It's easier for the user to not have to worry about it if they know it's just in their pedal rack and you're not disconnecting speakers off the back of the head.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyways, that's the talk box. I thought it might be the most insane amount of work to get a certain sound out of a pedal. And how come somebody hasn't come up with a way to just make the pedal work where you mouth it and then it goes back and out the amplifier? To me, that would be the trick.
Well, it sounds like you're saying Rocktron no, not really.
No, because the sound's still coming up through the box, through the hose, through the Flexi hose, which you can buy for $9.99 on.
Yeah, you can get the one that's made for aquariums for a couple dollars, or you can get the one that's made for guitar players. That's $39.99 for the replacement. That's right. But the one made for guitar players is better tone.
It's made from a tone plastic.
Right. Brought to you by Tone Plastic. Oh my God. That's so true.
No, it is. 100%.
Specially formulated.
Right.
Well, who invented this?
Heil was the company, I believe, that made the original.
Okay.
And Banshee was Rocktron Banshee was the second one. There is one now, and I can't remember. Is it Full Tone who makes it? Somebody makes one for like $600. It's the one Peter Frampton's using now. I think it's a Full Tone.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm looking right now. It looks like there were a few voice effect versions of this that were really early, all the way back to the 30s. But,
if you remember,
I'm not reading it deep enough to.
When Gary Harrison used to represent, and I don't know if he still does, but Godlike pedals.
Right.
They had a pedal called the Little Dipper, which would mimic the talk box, but in a pedal, where it would already have the mouthing of wow, like it would do the wow.
Right.
So I mean, the pedal really, you could basically, if you needed to do the Bon Jovi song, you could get away with that. But if you wanted to do Sweet Emotion or Those Shoes by the Eagles, you'd be screwed because you don't have those vowelings.
Right. Yeah, it seems like the only way to get proper talk box guitar tone is to do it the old-fashioned way.
Right. Yeah. You earn it.
Do you think that there are people out there who will be changing the speaker driver to get different talk box tone?
Well, you have to use the original Celestion driver. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the driver and to change the tone plastic.
Right, the tone plastic is a big part of the sound.
Yes.
What kind of tone plastic was Frampton using? That's what everybody wants to know.
The polyurethane hose. Yeah, you must use the polyurethane hose as opposed to the PC. What do they call it? Polycarbonate. Vinyl.
Yeah, I don't know. None of it matters. It's all bullshit and it's bad for you. It's hilarious.
However, God. There's a new one from Flexi Seal.
Flexi Seal. From the makers of Tubes Be Fresh. What's it called?
Yes.
I can't remember. Oh, Guitar Mid Hammer. I forgot. Hey, let me ask you this. All week long, people have been posting videos of Gibson running over a bunch of shitty robot guitars with a bulldozer or a little cat tractor or whatever it is.
The X, right? The Firebird X.
Yeah. And for those who haven't seen it, then you're blind and you're living under a rock, because it's been on every one of your guitar player friends' page all week. What they're doing is there's a lot of people speculating, oh, it's just counterfeit guitars. They're destroying counterfeit guitars, and then there's the rest of us who just realize it's just a part of the way that the corporate business runs. They destroy the inventory so they don't have to pay for it. There it is. Anyways.
Right. Sometimes there are seconds. Sometimes there's stuff they don't want being sold anymore, or they don't want it in the market.
Now, I just saw a second video for the first time today where it shows a guy at Gibson cutting guitars up on a bandsaw.
I saw that one too.
Yeah. And again, people are saying they're collected counterfeits, but I can promise you that the company itself would not have a bunch of counterfeits inside of their walls. That would be something that would be done through law enforcement.
Yeah, not at all. That's not counterfeits. The other thing is, here's what's funny. They came out with the Firebird X in like maybe 2010 or 9. Yeah. And they asked me what I thought of it. And I said, here's what would be really cool. If you line them up on the dirt, like where a truck or a trailer or a large dump truck can go over it, or a tank.
Right, maybe something with tank treads. Right, sure.
Could smash it. You could make a really cool video. And they were like, well, that's not very nice. And here we are 9 years later, and that's the video.
You're a visionary.
I knew what those things would be good for.
Oh my God. So people are going bananas, and it's all credit to this show. When we talk about don't smash your guitars, but donate them to schools, everybody's saying these guitars should get donated to schools. This is a misstep, Gibson.
Yeah. Now, let me say this, because I can argue both sides, but in the end, they're wrong. The problem is, if you donated it,
you get a credit.
Sure, but and you wouldn't have the inventory anymore. But let's say this. Let's say they didn't want to do it because they don't want these guitars out there on the market. Take off the tuners, take off the pots, take off all that stuff, and donate that to somebody who needs it for parts. If there's a music program, if someone's running a big music program like School of Rock, they would love all those tunematics to be able to repair other guitars and just keep them on hand. To just go out there and show a tractor running over everything, right. I really think it's just in poor taste. And if that's the way you want to handle it, that's fine too. But wouldn't just say to anyone, hey, guys, don't film it.
Yeah. I think that they came out with a statement where they claimed that they asked it not to be filmed, and some disgruntled employee had filmed it on his own.
Yeah. And I could see that because, like I said, even if the guitars, you don't want them out there, you don't think they're playable, there's marks, there's this, all those parts would really be something to somebody.
Right. I get the corporate side of it. I get why they destroy it, and their accounting reasons for it and everything else. I saw it when I was working for McLaren Engines years ago. When they would be done with a car that wasn't supposed to be out in the public, it would get cut up. Yeah. It would. And they do it all the time, and people would probably be saying, hey, that should be donated to a driving school. That 780 horsepower Ford Focus that you guys built should be donated to a driving school. Right.
Or given to an old lady.
Right, exactly. Did I mention that the front window has very little visibility? No.
Right.
So I get it, and I get that people would be upset about that as well, and maybe rightfully so, because it is really wasteful. But we're not talking about like a car that could kill somebody out there. This is a guitar. It's supposed to be a thing that's fun, that's good, that's useful for for education, for entertainment, for therapy, for all sorts of things. Music is a good thing. And so it's just disappointing when this is how it goes down.
And to say Fender kind of did a similar thing years ago, but not even close. Fender had pallets and pallets of seconds that they destroyed because they were paint flaws and everything, but they were never made into guitars. It was just the body that was destroyed. So they're not destroying look at every one of these guitar has 3 pickups. They've got electronics, they've got robot tuners, they've got, I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
lot.
it's just wasteful and shameful.
Sad, yeah. Fender
Especially,
Fender was smart. They took those pallets of B stocks and they turned them into a relics and charged people $4,000 a piece for them. I'm just kidding.
I mean, in all honesty, what Gibson could have done here was like, listen, we have all this overstock. If if you make a video playing this guitar and you only had like maybe a Squire or you only had a Fender before this, and you make a video playing it, we'll give it to you for free. And then they would have had all that publicity of people raving about Gibson, because when people watch the video, they're not going to be like, I want that guitar. They're like, Gibson did a cool thing.
Right. Yeah.
And here people can walk away going, Gibson fucked up.
Yeah, and that seems to be the space they're living in right now.
Yeah.
For many reasons that seem to be ongoing.
Right. I can understand why Gibson would do something like that. I mean, they've been around for 125 years. Yeah. They've been making quality products.
Behind closed doors, you probably don't want to know what kind of inventory gets destroyed and what happens to all of it. I'm trying to think back to days when I was like with Cordoba and Guild, if I saw anything like that. There'd be guitars that would like be damaged and they would destroy the guitar because the damage was significant. But I don't ever remember them like saying, there's paint flaws in this particular batch, we have to destroy all of them. I don't think that ever happened.
Yeah. It's not common. And it's common with Fender, but otherwise it's not common. The other thing is, it's like, wouldn't you strip the guitar of all the good as to not waste it? I mean, I would take the bridge off and everything else and then be like, all right, well, this paint flaw, this should have not been made. Get rid of it.
Well, that makes you wonder, like, how much money is in these parts. Maybe to the bean counters, it wasn't worth it, it's crazy to me. For the electronic tuners and stuff, I mean, for like a Nashville Tune-O-Matic, it probably costs them nothing.
Well, what happens?
To make that?
What happens is you're talking about it being an importer. And in the import business, if you're taking in, let's say you're taking 1,000 guitars a month, I think you have a 10% write-off where you could tell them 10% of it's damaged and they'll give you the 10% off your cost. So really you're paying 90% for the stock.
Yeah,
That stuff happens, I know for sure.
Right, but I'm talking about Gibson. It's just interesting to me that they're not pulling off the tuners and they're not pulling off the bridges. It just tells me that the bridges obviously are incredibly cheap for them to make, even though people look at the parts and they say, a Gibson Tune-O-Matic's probably $29 or $30 retail. The reality is it probably costs them like $3 to make it.
Well, also not just that, but the reality is whenever these guitars were made, let's say these are all from 2010, you've made money for that year. You've already made the profit that's paid for these. So these are all paid for. So in effect, they're probably paid for and they're just now getting rid of the tax problem, because if you hold on to it, and this is why, folks, when I say when you go to a store, if you find an item that's been in the store for a long time, like you go in and you see a guitar and it's a Les Paul and you find out it's from 2008 and it's never been sold, you can then sit there and talk to them at the store and say, listen, this guitar's already been paid for. Like, it's been in the store a long time. Every year this guitar is costing you money because you get taxed on your inventory. Let's work out a deal and go from there. And more than likely, they will cut you a fantastic deal.
Agreed,
otherwise, the place should just be closed because they want that inventory gone too. They've already paid for it, And
after 10 years, it's been paid for a few times.
Well, you paid for it, and now for the next 9 years, they're putting back more money into it every year because extra money. So every year it costs whatever, even though that comes out of the profit of that year as well. It's doing them damage every year as opposed to
Right.
being a positive.
It's also costing them money in the sense that it's one hook that's not being turned, and your customers are not seeing new
Absolutely.
things, and so they get bored and they stop coming in. So
It's
if you find an old
valuable.
guitar, buy it.
Yeah, it's valuable real estate on that
Get-
hook on that
Yeah.
wall.
Get yourself a deal.
Yeah.
So I played.
but know
Let's see
that.
what happened this weekend. I played a gig with Troy's band, the Trucker Bomb band.
Oh, okay. How did that go?
Yeah, it was all right.
Oh, you like that gig?
No, that it can be fun enough to play because it's like the only thing that I play that's original, and
Right.
it's a short set, 45 minutes and you're done.
Where was the gig?
But it just wasn't tight this week.
Yeah, where was it?
It's not great. The Redwood, downtown LA.
Oh, I didn't even know it.
Boy, let's further talk about the politics of life. Not Gibson this time, but I missed my exit going downtown, and I had to get off on San Pedro. San Pedro Street downtown. What's the nickname for that street downtown? I think Sebastian Bach.
Skid Row. That's
Skid Row. Yeah, you're going down there. You want to talk about dichotomy? Oh my God! And I don't want to get into politics, but it's heartbreaking. You're going down there at 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night. I think I was there about 10 o'clock at night, and it's just like a mile-long drive to get to the street I needed to get to, and I'm just driving past thousands and thousands of tents and homeless people. And then when you get to the street you're going to, like 1 block away from where all that's going on, there's like girls dressed to the nines going to the clubs on the other side of the block. And it is amazing to see that on one side you get these people that are all disabled, that are on drugs, that you don't know how many of them are going to survive the night. And then the other side of the block is just like 20-something-year-old people going out to clubs, getting hammered,
right,
just living it up, having a great time. And it's messed up, man. It's messed up out here. LA is just a disaster right now. Absolute disaster.
Sounds it.
Dude, it's so gnarly. All the stuff that you hear in the news about LA and the homeless people, like when you left years ago, you missed a lot of this. I don't know if you've been back, but dude, if you're on Venice Boulevard, you know where Venice and the 405, where that big overpass is?
Venice and the 405? Yeah, of course. Where you used to live?
Yeah, under that overpass. No, you're thinking La Cienega is where I used to live.
Oh.
No,
right.
Venice and 405. It's big right there.
Venice and 405's over by
Venice,
by Sepulveda.
right by Sepulveda. Yeah, that big overpass. Under that overpass, it's just wall to wall tents along all of the sidewalks.
God. Right near.
Oh, dude, it's everywhere.
Isn't that Howard's bar, bacon and avocado burger right there?
World famous.
Yes, I love that place.
Oh, did you really?
Oh yeah,
I went there once. I thought it was okay.
I mean, it's no Ruby's. I love Ruby's.
Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, no, the whole city, man. It's like everywhere you look, there's just like tents, freaking everywhere. This is what you get when you close your eyes and just keep voting for the same people over and over and over.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, the gig could have been better. What did you do? I'm assuming you were out.
This weekend?
Yeah.
No gigs.
Really?
This weekend. I had a gig scheduled for Saturday, and I found out last month that it wasn't going to happen because we do the gig once a month at this bar. And in the summer months, July, they always cancel for the because it's just dead, and they wanted to cancel for August. And I was like, no big deal. I had stuff that I wanted to do around the house, and I was like, this weekend I'm going to get that stuff done. So I did.
Yeah.
And so that was it. I had a relaxing weekend. During the week, I set up a buddy of mine's guitars. He had a Les Paul and a Strat that he was saying wasn't playing great. And the Strat, he really needs either a fret job or a new neck. But the Les Paul now plays good. And so I set that up for him, and I just was teaching during the week, and doing my channel. I posted a couple of videos and went live one night.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was the gig that got canceled?
It's a small little bar that we do, AM station. We do acoustic, but it's real busy during the non-summer months and dead during the July and August. So it wasn't to me, it's not a big deal to miss it, but
yeah. What now? You still have a lot of acoustic guitars. What's your main acoustic when you go live?
When I play live or go live,
Yeah.
when I play live, when I play live, I use the Takamine. I think it's called the 740 FS.
Is that the slot headstock one that you had?
It is, yes.
Okay,
yes.
And that's cool tube preamp and all that?
Which is excellent.
Yeah.
Which is excellent. It's one of the best sounding. And what I do that a lot of people always say, man, your sound is so great. I play with another guy who's playing guitar, and he's plugged straight into the board. And so we use a reverb that's on the board, but then I add like a real lush reverb to it, and it just sounds really great. And plus the cool tube gives a warm sound. It's funny, I see a lot of guys out there playing, and people are out there playing a lot with Taylors and other stuff. And, most of the pickups for acoustic guitars, I'm like, you can get away with using a cheaper setup. Just as long as you use the right, either a compressor or a reverb, and then put it into the board. The Taylors, to me, don't really sound that great. You have to really pull a lot of the bottom out of them, I think, when they're plugged in. But plugged in, I'm just not a huge Taylor fan.
Yeah, I remember years ago you liked them a lot, but...
Yeah, but the more I'm out there playing, the more I can tell you the reasons I don't like them. I do think they're a lot boomier and mid-rangey. Plugged in, and I think that has something to do with the whole Rupert Neve system. But, I've been seeing these guitars. Have you seen these orange wood guitars? I keep getting ads for the
guitars.
I keep getting it.
No, but I'm going to look them up right now.
All right, I keep getting ads for them on some of my Instagram and on Facebook. And I'm like, they look really nice. They're a solid spruce top, which is really what matters when you're playing a live gig. And the back and sides are laminates. Well, who cares? But for the price point and for the look and build of these things, they look like they're built really well. They don't look cheap, but they're inexpensive.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Chinese guitar. Yeah, they look good.
Yeah.
Cosmetically speaking, some of them are attractive.
Yeah, they have a Fishman Electronics.
I always suggest the only thing about the Chinese guitars you have to look out for is just proper curing of the neck and all that. The neck wood's got to be cured well enough so that it doesn't roller coaster on you.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's made from a decent factory. Like I have my Chinese-made Epiphone Master built, and I still love it.
Yeah,
sounds great. I use it on my channel here, and
orange wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it, but when I was one of my previous gigs, I worked with Tanglewood guitars.
Yeah, I remember that name.
That was pitiful.
Well, you remember when Guild had the GAD series, the GAD sticks, the Guild acoustic design?
Yeah.
And that was built in like the similar factory, if not the same factory as the Eastwood guitar. Eastwood?
Probably Eastwood, because Eastman's its own thing.
No, what's the one that Bernstein works for?
Eastman.
That's the one that the GAD was made in.
If it's made in that factory, it's not made there anymore. They would have pulled it out and switched it, because it's not the same as the Eastman stuff. The Eastman stuff is that's like the best Chinese stuff I've ever seen.
Well, first of all, I'm not talking about the GAD
stuff early.
The GAD early must have pulled out.
It was good early, and then even later it was still decent, but it's not like Eastman. Like if somebody said to me, you are snobby, but tonight you're playing an Eastman, I'd be like, giddy up, that's fine. I have no issues. But if they're like, you're snobby and you're playing 2017 GAD, I'd be like, fine, whatever.
Well,
Different
2017.
attitude.
I'm going back to 2009 and 10.
Right. Yeah, I think it definitely changed at some point in time.
I think the Gads were made in that factory. At least that's what I was told.
Yeah, I don't know.
And there was a third brand that was made in that factory as well. I can't think of what it was, but it might come to me.
Did Coke decide to kill that whole "you're sharing a Coke with so-and-so" trend?
Oh,
Remember
I
those
think that's
labels?
been over a long time ago, yeah.
Okay. Because right now I'm sharing this Coke with nobody. Anyway, yeah. So what about an acoustic guitar? Like when you're playing a live one, we all know that there's some things that like really matter for a live acoustic instrument. If you're in a loud environment, obviously you have to do something to keep the sound hole from causing too much feedback and everything else, and electronics from being too boomy, like you're talking about in the Taylor.
Sure.
What kind of stuff? What kind of stuff do you like to control it? Because I don't play acoustically live like ever.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the Cool Tube preamp. It has the 3 sliders, the bass, mid, treble. The bass and mid I have all the way to 0. And the treble and the treble I have at like 75%.
Okay.
And then I have the Cool Tube all the way on. I have the neck pickup, whatever, the middle hole pickup, whatever they call that thing, about halfway on.
Oh, wow.
And I can play like that, and I don't have any boom, and it sounds great. But basically, I need that. I try to take the bottom out of mine because I'm playing with another guitar player, and he tends to be on the boomier side. So I have to cut through him.
Right.
So I try not to be too much on his frequencies. He plays more in the mid-range area. And I try to tell him constantly, I'm like, you got to scoop some of that out because it just gets, you want it to sound like, when we play, we want it to sound like a record. I mean, we do a good job, I have to admit. I think that AM station really puts on a fun time for people, and the sound is good. And, it's like a giant sing-along of AM Gold stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, you really have to be careful with that. And like I said, I'm also playing through that hardwire reverb, which really adds a nice sound. And that's good. It's a nice mix. And I'm playing through I go into a Behringer mixer, which is like a 16 channel, maybe a virtual 20 something channel. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it has compression on the channel and effects, and then I go into powered speakers.
Okay. That's not so bad. I mean, it's simple setup.
Simple.
You don't use any compression or anything?
I do. On the guitar, I have the compressed almost at about a little less than halfway. On the vocal, I have it at halfway.
All right. All right. Yeah, I gotta figure out a gig where I can play some live acoustic guitar. I haven't done that.
Oh, it's fun.
I haven't done it since like the Johnny Cash thing.
It's easy to set up. It's easy to get in and get out. And the people have a lot of fun. I mean, every time we play, somebody's saying, do you do private parties? And we get a couple of private gigs out of it, and those always pay better and whatnot. And then, so it's really cool in that respect. I enjoy the acoustic gigs, and I think as a player, it's funny. People sit there and be like, do you play acoustic guitars? And most people are like, oh, I play acoustic. And some people are like, I don't play it that much. But I really don't think the electric and the acoustic, even though they're both guitars, I look at them completely differently.
Right.
When you're playing an electric guitar and you got like a C sharp minor thing and whatever's going on, you think of it a certain way. When you go to an acoustic, you have to think like, well, how am I going to make this ring? How can this sound?
Absolutely. I play them both differently as well.
Yeah. And it's the approach, and that's really what you should. It's like, and then sometimes when you get to an electric guitar and you have it on a clean sound, and then you can kind of throw in some of those voicings from the acoustic, but not often. You will need some help.
And you still can't play it exactly the same way. It doesn't sound right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's why I
So-
kind of think it would be fun to do it. I don't have anything lined up.
It's I mean, it's
I
fun.
also don't have a nylon, or not a nylon, but I don't have a steel string guitar that I keep here that would even be adequate for it.
Oh, really?
No, I've got like electric guitars and a mandolin, and that's it.
Wow. Do you still have the Breedlove mandolin, or do you have a different mandolin?
No, I still have the old Tacoma mandolin that I've had for years. That I got from my dad.
Wow. Yeah. So I still have my Breedlove mandolin, and then I take a mandolin that I plug in. It's like a Rogue cheap.
Oh, Guitar Center.
Yeah. And I use that for the gigs just to,
Right.
and it's simple, it's easy to use, and it's great. But yeah, I mean, that's why. So if anyone's wondering why I teach like certain things on my channel, like I do acoustic, is because I approach the instrument much differently than I would if I were playing it electrically. Yeah. It's
Could you
funny.
imagine playing nothing but power chords on an acoustic guitar? It's
Oh.
terrible.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I go see other bands play, like other people play acoustically, and I'm like, why wouldn't you capo this or change the key instead of playing all these fucking horrible sounding bar chords on your acoustic? It doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Oh, the knuckleheads. I'm like, I do not listen to what you're playing. It's like, and it's funny too, because like there are people who like I watch videos, and somebody did a video. I don't want to disparage her because I think she does a fun channel for beginners, but she was teaching If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot. And she was playing it in standard tuning in A. You could listen to the song for a second and know right away that he's voicing everything in G. I mean, you could just hear it right away. You know what I mean? Like when I hear a guitar on a record, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a G. I mean, and it doesn't have to be a G. It could be an A flat. It could be an A. He could be down a half step to F sharp, but I know he's playing a G chord.
Right.
I know that voicing. So then I'll figure it out and be like, oh, okay, it's an A, but it's a G. So I'm just going to capo the second fret. So anyway, so then I wrote a message to her. I said, if you listen, you can pretty much hear that that's a second fret capo in G. You're playing it a lot tougher.
She responded back and said, "Go fuck yourself."
She said, how far can you fit my fist up your asshole? And I said, well, can I get...
You snooty son of a...
Oh, yeah. No, actually, she said, hey, look, thanks so much for the tip. Here's some rope. How high can you piss up it? I was like,
right. Exactly. Oh, that's funny.
Well, I don't say
kid,
it.
So if I want to go get a new... Like that, go ahead.
I'm not trying... When I say stuff like that, I'm not even trying to be like... I'm just trying to be helpful.
Well, you got to stop... You got to stop framing the statement where you say what you're going to say and then adding comma, you cunt at the end. You can't do that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I was wondering why she took an attitude.
Yeah. It's just that one little thing. So hey, I gotta find an acoustic guitar. Now that I'm thinking about it, I gotta find one. What are your recommendations?
Have you checked out the Orangewood?
Oh,
I'm telling you, they look pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. How do we feel? It's either got to be Nippon or USA, right?
If you go USA, stay with a fairly cheap guitar. Callings, Santa Cruz.
That's right. Kevin Ryan. Yeah.
No, that's getting expensive.
Good God.
No.
Is Takamine still producing the Cool Tube?
Oh, yeah.
They are. That's good.
Yeah.
Maybe look that way.
Takamine is the way to go, the Japanese Takaminis. I always think they make one of the best road workhorse. In fact, there's a model you might want.
Made in America.
There's a model you might want to look at. It comes in black. The guy's first name is...
Just hold on a second. Mahogany back and sides.
Yes.
Yeah. Dreadnought cutaway.
Oh,
Rosewood
yes,
fingerboard. Oh, I wonder who that would be.
Yes.
Care to enlighten the audience?
It's the Steve Wariner signature Takamine guitar. But Steve has a
Stefan
great
Warinier, if you're French.
Steve has a great story about it though, and also this. Have you seen the news? I showed you the Gretsch, the Tennessee gentleman looks excellent.
Yes.
Steve Wariner has a great story though. Ricky Skaggs, he said, always had the best sound live on his acoustic, and he asked him what he did, and he says he buys these preamps from Takamine and puts them in his Martins.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve went down to the store to play the Takamine to check out the preamp, and he was like, but the guitar's fantastic. Why would you take it out of this? Contacted Takamine, and they sent him, and they made him that model.
A lot of the pros use Takamine. Still to this day, it's a very popular guitar for guys who are actually out there doing it.
Yeah, Garth Brooks, Bruce Springsteen.
Such renowned guitar players as Toby Keith.
What's the guy's name who, the other country guy?
There are some good players that are using it too, like Warner, and then obviously like John Jorgensen.
Yeah, there's great players.
What was that dude's name? Brad something or another?
Brad Davis.
Brad Davis, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were doing the Brad Davis clinic and there was a guy that like opened, they had a second guy there that was doing Ovation?
No. Oh, yes, I do. Matt Smith.
Matt something, right? And he was like, this guitar, it sounds like a grand piano.
Yeah.
And you're just like oh.
This guitar sounds like a grand piano at the all-you-can-eat buffet.
Oh, man. No, thank you. Come on, people. Cut the shit, will ya? All you out there, cut the shit. Your guitar doesn't sound like a piano.
No, it doesn't. But he was into the weird tunings and slide playing. I totally remember him.
Yeah.
And didn't he sell slides on the side, like slides he made? And I think we went out to eat with Brad that night. Didn't we go to
Yeah, we may have.
We went to the Pacific Dining Car, if I recall correctly.
Ooh, that's correct, yeah. That was
Right.
fantastic.
We got fillets.
Joe.
I couldn't tell you one song Brad Davis played. I couldn't tell you one song Matt Smith played. But I can tell you what I ate that night at the Pacific Dining Car, what side dish we got. That sweet corn.
My favorite thing about going out to eat with these guys was the time that we went out with Michelangelo Badio
we went to
the 50s.
Cafe 50s.
And he ordered like a 6-year-old.
I can't remember. What did he eat?
Mashed potatoes and gravy with meatloaf and ketchup.
Oh, yes.
I like meatloaf. Oh, boy.
He's a good guy. We had fun with him. He was a good guy.
He was a good guy. It was hilarious, though.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man.
It was funny because we were
my
talking
kids like the same thing.
Yeah, we were talking about like metal and country, and he was a Murray. People would be surprised by him because number one, I think he's a humble guy.
Yeah.
And I think that he respects a lot more music than you would think. That where most metal guys who play metal are like, that music sucks or that sucks. You know, I find that with a lot of people. When I worked with Vinnie Colaiuta, we talked about some stuff he played on, and then some other bands like the Blue Nile. And he was like, I'd much rather listen to that than most of the stuff that people like what I play for. You know, the fancy jazz playing and all the tough stuff. He's like, there's something about a soft groove with a great song that is just hits him. And it's the same, you know, like we talked about Michelangelo. He was like really, you know, talking highly about other players in other genres and saying, you know, that he wish he could do some of that stuff. And it's nice to see when people, you know, because he shreds his balls off. I mean, that night he was ridiculous.
All right. Well, the guy can play like crazy. He's got
he shreds.
A fantastic hairpiece maker.
Oh, yeah.
God. I'm so mean. No, the guy's great. He was absolutely great, and it was a good hang. But I don't know, it was just funny. I'll never
Yeah.
forget the mashed potatoes and gravy and the meatloaf.
See, again, I can remember what I ate, but I don't know what he ate.
Phenomenal. Anyway,
I think you could probably remember what I ate because I ate the same meal every time I went there.
oh yeah, you probably got like the burger patty and eggs with an extra patty.
Exactly right. And the tomatoes grilled.
Oh yeah, that's the grilled tomatoes. Oh,
Uh,
that's absolutely right. Yeah. What was anyway, the
going to Joe's Diner on Main Street, and Renee, who lived across the street from us, used to be like, "Hey, steak and eggs." I'm like, "What? You can't call me Dave?" Like, just as soon as I walk in, "Hey, steak and eggs."
God, Renee. Yeah, I haven't seen or heard from Renee in probably 10 years. I don't know.
She called me not too long ago. She had a question about her computer. I had filled I filled for her. She came over one day with her hard drive, and I put all the music on it for her. And
Okay.
it was failing on her, and I had her walk through it and fixed it. That was maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Wow.
I think she's
Surprised it lasted that long.
Oh yeah, I still have some drives from way back then.
Okay. Dang. Very cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's something else I was thinking about this week. It pops in and out of my head every once in a while because it's just funny to me. Boss pedals. I saw something. I was walking by a trash can, and something purple was in there. And for whatever reason, and folks, this isn't supposed to be like Freudian or anything here, but something purple was in there, and all of a sudden in my head just pops the Boss flanger pedal, the purple flanger pedal.
I'm very familiar.
And I just started thinking.
I thought you were going to say it was Grimace, and I was going to be like, "Wow, LA really has gone down when McDonald's had to fire Grimace and he's in a trash barrel." It's awful.
That sounds like a Family Guy bit. No, so I just started thinking about the Boss pedal, and I started thinking about, it's funny how we are as an industry and a nerd like collective of guitar players, and half of us out there really frown upon Boss pedals.
Sure.
But I think, in fairness, they're maybe not the greatest pedals in the world. They're not the worst pedals in the world. But they make a lot of really good stuff. They don't get. I don't think they get their just due, because right now we're in an era of everything's got to be small builds, boutique, special. But I think Boss makes a lot of good stuff. That's all I'm really getting at.
I don't think the Boss stuff is that bad. Some of the distortion stuff might be noisy. I think the problem that Boss has is that in today's world where everyone is really so tonally, I mean, if you have more than one Boss pedal, how many buffers are you going to have in your damn signal? It just doesn't make sense. So they should, if Boss was like smart, they would make true bypass versions of their pedals, so you could buy one pedal that has a buffer that actually works and not have to have 9 buffers, because that's just more signal to noise. Noise to signal ratio yours is increasing. And I just don't see a need for it. But I think that's kind of what turns some people off to Boss.
Do you think it's noisy?
I think they can be if you start to stack it. And I think if you ever listen to like an old rig, like if you went to go listen to like Hendrix's rig, if you could go into a time machine with Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and he says, "Sherman, set the Wayback Machine for 1969. And you were to go to like maybe the gig that he played, the Band of Gypsies. If you were to go play that guitar, I think you would be like, this is a fucking noisy mess."
Right, it probably was.
And I think if you go listen to any of the stuff that like, Jimmy Page, when he's playing in that tour, and did Close the Door. What is that? No Quarter on the Song Remains the Same. I guarantee you that thing would not sound good to you alone, just playing it. today, now with digital recording and everything, there's such a clarity that people want to hear and see that I think that the pedals have to step up and Boss hasn't. But I do believe, and again,
I know your example is not. I mean, your example makes sense, but they, clearly they weren't using Boss pedals on those records. But I do know what you mean.
No. But when did Boss start? In the late 70s?
I think 78 is when the DS1 came out.
Right.
I don't know what year was their first overdrive pedal, but that was their first distortion.
Right. I mean, and most of the times, I think when you're hearing, like, I know it's a DS1, I think, plugged into a Roland Jazz chorus is the sound of, and I ran so far.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, it's usually kept to a minute.
Yeah, I do not find the DS1 to be a pleasing sounding pedal.
No.
I've had it a few times over its life and tried it in a few different ways and never really had it sound good. Again,
and I want to say this again, I'm the same way about it, except when I hear somebody else play it, I'm like, that sounds good. What are you playing? Oh, it's a Boss DS1. And I'm like, man, that pedal sucks. Like, as a listener, we allow and listen to so much. And as a player, we all of a sudden become nose in the air going, I don't like the way this sounds.
Right.
I'm that way all the time. I mean, like, I hear people play amps and I'm like when I play a Marshall, to me, it sounds like a toy. And then I hear another guy play it. I'm like, then I listen to fucking British Steel by Judas Priest. And I'm like, that is like Key Marshall sound right there. What is that?
What was the name of the record? What was the name of the record where they had Balls to the Wall? What was the name of that record?
Balls to the Wall.
Oh, that was the name of the record.
Yeah. Udo Dirkschneider.
The recorded guitar tone on that record. That tone is phenomenal. When's the last time you heard it?
What's today? I don't know, 5 years.
Exactly.
No, it's been probably longer than that.
Yeah. I was listening to it the other day just because I had like a I don't know, it was some sort of playlist on Apple Music where it was like a 70s, 80s, 90s metal playlist, and that song came on, and I was like, God, I don't really give a shit about the song, but the guitar tone is monstrous.
They were all using late 70s Marshalls,
well, the
JMB stuff.
The thing that was great about it is whoever was the engineer on it they still had their ears working, and they dialed it to where it wasn't so bright and raspy. It had this nice, thick sort of sound. And anyway, yeah, I loved it. Very
well, it's
cool.
funny because you could listen to Judas Priest and also listen to, like, around the same time, Michael Schenker group. And Schenker's, you can hear that it's a nasalier sound. You can hear
really
that they're using... Yeah. Not so much thin, but you can hear some things dialed back because he's playing Gibson humbuckers. But it's just, those amps sound great on those records. And like I said, most stuff sounds great until I start playing it, and I'm like, nah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then that's
something about, on those records, there's something about just like, whoever did the engineering, where they put the 57 on the cone. So I listened to like Jailbreak from Thin Lizzy, and it sounds thin to me. It's a great song. But, the guitar recording is a little bit thin. It almost sounds like they had the microphone too, like, centered on the cone or something. And yeah, you go next to it and listen to Balls to the Wall, and it's basically the same basic rigs and sounds big and fat. I don't know.
So I was talking to someone yesterday, and he knows who he is. And he was telling me that he really liked Glenn Tipton, and not so much KK Downing and Judas Priest. And I was saying, basically, I was the same way growing up. I was a Glenn Tipton nut. He was my favorite guitar player back in, like, 82, 83. When Screaming for Vengeance came out, I was like, Tipton was the shit. I worked at Gladstone's in the late 90s. And what was the drummer's name for Judas Priest? Scott? Was it Travis?
Yeah.
I waited on him.
You know that he's Randy Travis's brother?
Really?
No.
No. Anyway, so yeah, I was gonna say I think he's a younger guy, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, so we were talking and we were
Did you know that he's Carol Travis's brother? Sorry.
So I waited on him, and we were talking Priest, and we were just having a blast of a time talking. And I said to him, I grew up loving Glenn Tipton's playing. He's one of my favorite players. And he looked at me and he was like, really? What do you think of KK Downing? I'm like, I never cared for his playing. I just never liked it. And he says, KK's the better player. And I'm like, there's no way. No fucking way. And he goes, I think he's the better player. Anyways, we were like laughing and talking and whatever. So anyway, so now KK quit. And in one of the interviews, KK talks about the fact that he feels if he ever made a mistake in Judas Priest, he said it was being a nice guy and giving Glenn Tipton more solos than he took. But he felt that, but he played some major solos and he named some ones that he played. And I was like, I fucking love those. I thought those were Glenn. Then I started watching some live footage and I watched Riding on the Wind. And I thought a lot of the stuff that KK played on the record, I thought was Glenn as well. And so I realized, moving, speed of sound, and run. So you know those solos when it's like, woo, it starts with the whammy bar and stuff? Yeah. I always thought the whammy stuff before each little fast run was KK, and I thought Glenn did the shred. It's not. It's whoever does the squealy plays the next lick. So it's KK, then Glenn, KK, then Glenn. And I'm like, shit, I think I like the KK stuff better. And I still am, Glenn is still one of my favorite players. But I think because KK kind of let Glenn do a lot of the solos, because I think KK felt like he was the leader of the band, somewhat he started the band, that he felt being more gracious and giving his solos away. But I have to say, now I'm not saying I think he's better than Glenn, but I think KK is a definite underrated, overlooked guitar player because of it. And I was shocked by it, and because after I realized when I read the KK article after he quit and went back to some of the solos, all I could think of is Scott Travis saying to me, KK's the better player. And I'm like, how could anyone? Literally, I remember walking away that night, heading home going, how the hell does anyone think that? Like, how could you even, like, is he getting the guys wrong? Like, he plays in the fucking band, and I'm thinking he's confused at which guy's which.
It's funny.
How ridiculous I am.
He's been in that band since, like 90, 91?
Who?
Scott Travis.
Yeah, exactly. He's been in there since then, like.
And the previous drummer was in the Jeffrey Jones fan club.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a little bit. I think they went to NAMBLA together. While the rest of the guys in Priest were going to NAMM, they were going to NAMBLA.
That's right. And not the Marlon Brando lookalike.
Right. And who was he? There's news that came out that very early drummer from like Stained Class, this guy Les Binks, is putting out some live concert. He's doing like some 40th anniversary material.
Dave Holland.
Dave Holland.
Yes.
So if you guys check out, if you're moving to a new neighborhood and you go
he passed away though.
Oh, never mind. He's not going to be on. What was it called? Miranda's List? Megan's Law. Megan's Law, that's what it is.
2018. In 2004, he was found guilty of attempted rape and several indecent assaults against a 17-year-old male with learning difficulties that he was giving a drum lesson.
Good God. Anyway, all right. That's gross.
Nuts. Let's see.
Les Binks, who was an early drummer for them, is doing some sort of a Priest tour or set of shows or something where he's covering all of like the Beast from the East stuff and earlier. Because I guess
That wasn't
was all
Dave
his
Holland?
material. I don't know. According to this article I read, it was this guy.
Oh, you're right. Les Binks is the drummer on Unleashed in the East, which I love that album. It's
And
British Steel.
what year is that?
At 79.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave Holland came in 1980 on British Steel.
Okay, got it. Got it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Now you're up to date on your Judas Priest news. I heard at some point that KK was like suing them. You hear anything about that?
Yeah, there was something going on. What happened?
He wanted to get back in or something.
KK never quit the band. So he's still a member of the band, even though he doesn't play
touring or whatever.
Right, exactly. And I guess they didn't consult him on several things. I'm not 100% sure, but
yeah,
I like that KK Downing Flying V that someone's making him that says KNK or something on it.
No idea.
Yeah, he plays it on like the last few tours with Priest.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, Scott Travis. Let me see when he joined the band. He came in on Painkiller 1990.
A painkiller.
I can't even listen to that record.
It's a rough one. It's not great. I've said it before. I like Priest, but I'm not the biggest fan in the world of them. I think
four good albums.
Once you pass what is it? Once you pass Screaming for Vengeance, I'm kind of like,
That's it. Yeah, Defenders of the Faith is terrible. I'll be the first one to say it I'll be the first one to go to a show and shout it to people. This album sucks.
Is that right after Screaming for Vengeance?
Yeah.
When's Turbo Lover?
Turbo's right after that in 86.
Because that's awful.
Turbo had like two good songs. The rest of the record stinks. And I think like they were good before Unleashed in the East, but Unleashed in the East to me they took a stand and it was like that's fantastic. That album, Into British Steel, Point of Entry, Screaming for Vengeance. There's the 4 albums you need by Judas Priest. Everything else, folks, if you have any other album in your collection that's not one of the 4 I just mentioned, you are now allowed to burn it.
What are the give me the records again?
Unleashed in the East,
okay.
British Steel,
right?
Point of Entry, and Screaming for Vengeance.
That's it. You don't like any of the early stuff, like the Stained Class or any of that?
Stained Class is a great record. It's just, it's good. But, and what's the album after Stained Class? Hellbent for Leather.
Okay.
It's a good album. But it's good. But when you hear those songs on the Unleashed in the East, it's like, oh, way better. All you need to get your dose of the early and the best is the Unleashed in the East live album of the prior earlier stuff, and then British Steel, Point of Entry, and Screaming for Vengeance. The Defenders of the Faith album, which I can't believe came out right after Screaming for Vengeance, is so fucking bad to me. Free Will Burning, it's just like, what the fuck? I hate it. I hate it. You know what? It's funny because at that time, and they didn't know what to do. At that time, they were getting their ass handed to them because in '83 they came out with "Screaming for Vengeance." That was their best album of all time. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate for them that Iron Maiden at that time also came out with their best album of all time, "Peace of Mind," and Iron Maiden is going to keep the flame going a lot longer. So the next album for Iron Maiden was "Power Slave." And then you have Defenders of the Faith, which kind of sound like old men trying to keep playing metal. And Maiden sounded like guys who were tearing your head off. And then Thrash came out.
Right.
86, 87. And guys like Priest were. And then, of course, that's when, he had to start going into that ridiculous piercing voice where it's like, can someone shut this guy up?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's.
I read an interview that Don Dokken did recently that was really interesting. That was all about the demise of their band and their career, and he was characterizing the Monsters of Rock tour. They were playing on the same. They were under the same management and the same label as Metallica. And I guess after like the first show or the first two shows or something, Don Dokken said that he was begging their management to put them on before Metallica because he was like, these guys are going to bury us.
Yeah.
We're up there trying to be cool and trying to be tough and everything. But he was like, we sound like Mary Poppins. And they're up there playing, and it's like, we stand no chance. If we go on after these guys, our career's over.
Was that 85?
No, it was later than that.
Oh, okay. Because, I was going to say, it was
might
after
have been,
Master of Puppets, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was after that. It might have
87
been,
or 88?
I don't remember when they released. They released Back for the Attack. Maybe in
87.
80. Okay, so it was after that, because that was a successful record for them. But he was saying that it was the tour following that like destroyed
Back to the Attack with Dream Warriors, or is that the one before that?
No, that's right. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's just funny. It's funny because I think Priest was also on that tour, and he was talking about it. He was like, "We're touring with all these bands, and we sound like." I think the way he said it was, "We sound like Mary Poppins."
Yeah,
it's totally true. All these guys, like the glam metal, the pop metal scene, like. I think a lot of those guys got steamrolled by like the Metallica thing happening.
Here's my problem with hard rock and Don Dokken. Dokken, when they did Tooth and Nail, I thought was a great fucking record. But I thought it was a great record. I thought Alone Again. I thought for a band coming out of the gate, Tooth and Nails on that record. I like
that you named the softest song on the record first.
I said stay. Well, because I'm thinking about his voice. And it was, but Just Got Lucky was my favorite tune on that record. The problem was, what they needed to do and what they needed was, and if your name is Tony Fuentes, please turn off the channel now. They needed to get rid of George Lynch at that point, in my opinion. I think, or have a sit-down talk with them and say, we got to discuss your tone. They needed to get like a fatter tone, and they also needed to have the guitar player and the bass player should have been backup singers with good voices to make it, because he has a good voice, Doc, and in fact, he sang, he did the backgrounds on the Scorpions, You Give Me All I Need, but he went and demoed that album for them because Klaus Meine was in the hospital. But he has a good voice, but you need to pad it with something and back it up and then have a better sound. And their sound was like this razor thin, I would call it like the cheap sound of the 80s. And you listen to Love It for a Sting, which was 83 on that. I think it's 83. But listen to... Or is it 85?
I don't know, but
you can listen to Love It.
You can go all the way back to Blackout, and you've got a way better guitar sound.
In 82. You can just hear the difference of proper production and taking care of the vocal. Because Don Dokken, I thought, was good.
Yeah, Tooth and Nail had a terrible sound. They improved it slightly when they did Under Lock and Key. But
it was...
Lynch never really had the sound, the great sound. I don't know how he didn't. He had like the vintage Marshalls, and then eventually he had the Soldano, and he just never had the sound.
Whoever recorded them and whoever they got to produce was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take much to sit there and go, yeah, I put, change the mic. All right, the mic's not working. All right, we got to change the amp. That ain't working. Can you get another guy to come in and play guitar?
Right.
Nothing against George Lynch. In all honesty, you just need to not have the sound to try to better your playing. Like, when I hear certain guys play, I'm like, oh, I would sound great with that sound because that sound is all kinds of effect and sustain, but it doesn't sound good. But technically wise, you can sound like you're doing a lot. When you have raw out there, which is why a lot of times when I practice, I'm playing without even an amp. When you plug directly into an amp and you just play raw with the gain pulled back, the sound is so much nicer. Learn to play. Get off the effing gear.
What kills me about Lynch? Tony, turn off the channel.
Yes, Tony Fuentes, please look away.
The thing that kills me about Lynch is, like, anytime he tries to go too fast and compete with the other guys of the era, he loses it. But I'll tell you, like, the beginning of a lot of his guitar solos, they sound like they're going to be awesome. Like, I listened to the beginning of, you listen to the solo from In My Dreams. It's cool sounding, and the phrasing is cool. And then he goes into the stupid tapping thing, and it's like,
Right.
You lost me there.
Yeah.
But I always feel like, man, there's a lot of songs where, like, he always has some cool phrasing, and then it just falls off before it finishes.
Yeah. You know what that is? Is because he thinks, I'm going to start this off melodic, and then I'm going to explode. And if you listen to all the guys who really are fucking great, I mean, guys like Lukather, it's melodic throughout. Even though you come up to the fast pass, I mean, you look at a solo like Rosanna. You have one run right there that's a little tricky going up.
Yeah.
But the whole thing you can sing. And the problem with a lot of the guys in the metal thing, it was like, let me play a melodic start, and then I'm just going to, it just starts to sound like Go Go Gophers.
Yeah.
He plays a
totally
solo,
agree.
and I'm going, what he say? Him say, you ain't too good. It's like, and I think that's a problem. And it's also, and I'm going to say it, it's a production problem. Whoever the producer on that record, if it was Bob Rock, and I'm going to bring up Bob Rock, because Bob Rock came from a background of, songs. You've got the eyes of a stranger. The band The Payolas, great song. It was all about the song. Bob Rock really was all about the song. And you listen to another guy, Bruce Fairbairn. Is that Fairbairn? Is that his name? You know that name, Bruce Fairbairn? I think he's the one that did the Bon Jovi album, Slippery When Wet. But it's like, you listen to the solos, even in the Metallica stuff with Bob Rock, it's not the solos you were hearing on Ride the Lightning.
No, they're definitely more melodic. I was just thinking that myself, because you can sing those, even like the Unforgiven solo, that but the whole thing, you can sing it. It's easy.
And if
you're absolutely right.
And if you think it doesn't matter, look at the sales for the Black Album, and look at the sales for Ride the Lightning. And then you can do the exact same thing for AC/DC. Look at the sales of something like High Voltage or Powerage, which I think is one of their best albums. And then look at when they brought in John Mutt Lange to do Highway to Hell and Back in Black. And all of a sudden you're like, oh. And they got it right away. Like AC/DC got it because they were never really overly flashy. But when they started producing the albums themselves, they kept it right in. Like they took you can see they took the ball and ran. And that's what people don't understand producing, or understand, like these metal guys in the 80s were like, it was all going for it. And and it's funny, there are some guys who can get away and have the crazy solos and let the guitar player do what they do. But it's always with some level, I think, of care. And that would be the guy who did Ozzy and then eventually did Megadeth, Max Norman.
All of his productions sound shitty, though.
It's a shit, Diary of a Madman sounds great for 1981. Blizzard of Oz sounds like shit.
No, but Rust in Peace sounds terrible.
Compared
it's
to
one
Dan
of the greatest.
Huff's.
One of the greatest thrash records ever, but the guitar sounds and stuff, not good.
I think, but Euthanasia sounds great.
Right, but I don't think Max Norman did that.
That was him. That was his last one.
Was it the same guy?
Let me see. I'm pretty sure it was. And I think they brought in Dan Huff on on cryptic writings. Here we go. Let's see. What was the album? Euthanasia. Early 94, Megadeth reunited with Max Norman to follow up Countdown. Yeah, it's Max Norman.
It is.
And it's a great sounding record. But what I'm saying about Max is he always let the guitar players in those, they do go off, but they're like,
oh, wait, did he not do Rust in Peace? Am I throwing Max under the bus for nothing? Because I'm looking at his discography right now, and it does not list that record.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on.
Wait, hold on. Maybe I'm looking at producing. I'm looking at producing. Let me go to mixing and engineering. No, he engineered Rust in Peace.
Who produced it?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the at Max's. Hold on,
it says Dave Mustaine and Mike Klink.
Mike Klink produced it?
Yeah.
Mike Klink is good.
Yeah, but
yeah, Max Norman. Okay, so he engineered it. I wonder who engineered Euthanasia. I wonder if it was him as well.
Well, he produced it.
Right, he produced it. I'm looking right now to see if there's a credits. Is there anything personnel? Yeah, it says mixed by Max Norman as well. I wonder why he made one sound so good and one not.
Well, I do know that they went and built a facility in Arizona.
Yeah.
And it cost them a fortune to make Euthanasia. Nick was telling me all the crazy stuff that they spent on that studio and how much money that cost. That when they went to do the next album, Cryptic Writings, he said they did it in Nashville.
Mm.
And Dan Huff was the guitar player. Dan Huff, who produced the album, he was in a band called Giant. He is a smoking guitar player.
Right.
Smoking. In fact, I'd take him over Marty Friedman any day.
Mm.
Smoking. But he was working in country music too. He produced like Faith Hill stuff, and he produced Carrie Underwood.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm familiar with the guy. Some of these guys out here might not be, but
right. I mean, I'm saying, I'm not telling it for you. I'm saying it for the listeners.
Yeah,
who are taking the time out between their masturbatory sessions on Chatterbait to listen to our podcast, and we thank you for that. This episode is brought to you by Wet Platinum for all your lubricating needs.
Goodness.
Jeez.
Oh, folks, what did you get yourselves into? Anyway, I think that about does it for today. We've got a lot for these folks to chew on. I will tell you this: tomorrow, I'm officially starting my first day slinging and schlepping products of the highest caliber. Look for a big package the size of a dump truck to land on your front porch.
Yeah, right.
Get you one of each. Got you one of everything. Could you imagine?
That'd be great.
I'll invoice you for $100,000.
You know what I do need though? I need a Wampler compressor. My compressor, or I need someone to look at from your factory and have a look at mine. My light won't go on anymore. On one of them, I have two.
That's disappointing. All right, we'll make the arrangements.
I mean, it's 12 years old, but still.
Yeah.
I was told if I found a mouse in my pedal, that you would give me a free kit. And I'm doing Bob and Doug McKenzie. When they go to Lake Elsinore Beer, we were told
the mouse we found a beer.
Exactly.
So stupid. God.
All right, folks, we thank you for stopping by and giving us a listen. You may now proceed to Pornhub.
All right, kids, have yourselves a great week, and we'll be right back here in the middle of your masturbatory sessions next week.
Very good.
All right, later.
You're listening to Guitar Talk with Dave and Jon.